Welcome, this is Nalta Explores from Dell Technology World in Vegas. Actually, it's the end of Dell Technology World. We finished up last night with an amazing concert by Imagine Dragons. Yeah. I never heard of them.
Oh.
No.
Oh, what a treat for you then. They're
Yeah,
amazing,
they're really
fantastic.
Yeah, they were very amazing, yes, they were. And what is cool is that we're a little bit off the event now. And I invited both Max and Ben to talk about how in the US you guys are helping your customers with digital transformation. And Max, you're from Dell Technology. Ben, you're very famous from Boomi. And we're going to talk about some examples and just give the audience a kind of view of what's happening over here. So, Ben, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ben Schreiner. I'm Global Business Development, focused on the interaction between Boomi and Dell Technologies.
Are you Max?
Yeah, I'm Max Babler, and I'm a data center compute specialist, and I work in the upper northwest region of the United States.
And what I'm really interested in is that, okay, I meet you guys at these events. Whether it's in Vegas or Washington or London, it really doesn't matter, but that's an event, that's a special occasion. How does the normal life for you guys look like?
A lot of email and a lot of conversations with customers trying to understand what they're trying to accomplish. So really trying to dig into what are their objectives and then how can we help.
But you are really a Boomi ambassador, evangelist, in the forefront of getting the Boomi world out to the audience, right?
Yep, my job is to make Boomi not a secret anymore. We call it the eighth wonder of Dell Technologies.
And you, Max?
Yeah, so my job really focuses on, of course, a lot of email, but also working with my customers in the field. So very high touch, spending time to really understand everything in their data center stack and how that integrates to their applications and how we can get them into that transformational journey we always talk about. And Boomi is an important part of that.
Okay, now, and it's Monday, next Monday. You get at your desk. First, you have to go through all these hundreds of emails you both receive.
Yeah.
What do you actually do?
Reach out to the customers, talk to them about what's happening, certainly talk to them about what's going on with Dell Technologies. Post-conference, there's a whole lot of new stuff to talk about, so focusing on that and really drilling down into individual use cases, making sure they really understand how best to leverage our technologies to make their IT shops run more efficiently.
But you're more in the data center architecture, right?
That's right, data center architecture, so we start from server processor up, through security stack and application integration in between.
And when's the first time you learned about Boomi?
I actually learned about Boomi when I was a customer.
Okay.
A little over a year ago while I was working on a transformation.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And you engaged him?
Indeed. Yeah, Max became a fast friend, incredibly bright, and had a challenge and he had a strategy. And once we figured out what he was going to do, he was quite successful in his old role. So successful that we thought he could be very successful helping other customers with the same kinds of challenges.
And here I am.
Could you share what your challenge was?
Yeah, so I was really actually trying to pivot a utility. Utilities in the United States tend to be very legacy focused, old process. And we really needed them to transform because there's pressure on the utilities from a financial and a regulatory constraint at the same time. And so we're trying to increase security, increase resiliency of the grid, and at the same time lower costs to a customer base. So Dell Technologies helped us do that as a utility when I was a customer from stem to stern. It was a great experience.
What's great to see is that people are more and more aware of the fact that there is a solution that integrates data and integrates applications.
Yes.
A fantastic solution like Boomi. So that's the first stage, make people aware. And I think we're moving up into the phase that when the awareness is there, you can actually talk about where are the use cases and what are people actually trying to solve. Do you have a great example of that, Ben?
We do. Actually, I think Dell Technologies itself is probably the best example.
That's one we hear here so often.
Okay, all right.
And I'm so curious because we learn about that typical example when Dell EMC merged. They used Boomi to integrate, for instance, Salesforce. But are there examples in the real field at your customers that you can talk about?
Sure. Many customers are trying to modernize their applications and move to the cloud or leverage software as a service, but they still have to engage the rest of their existing systems. And we have many customers, again, that struggle with how do I move forward even though I have all this old information or old systems. So specifically, customers like the American Cancer Society that we talked about in the TED Talk here, really wanting to engage their donors in a different way, and they needed to modernize that engagement model, and their existing systems were holding them back. So they went with many software as a service best-in-breed platforms, but needed a way to stitch those all together so the information flowed through their organization. And now they're very happy with their transformation, and their mission to eradicate cancer from this world is the most important thing anybody can do for all of us, and we're happy to be a part of it.
So they implemented the solution. They are very happy. But what did it actually solve?
So they were moving to a modern architecture with all new applications, right? So they needed to migrate first and foremost, but then they needed their accounting system and their customer support system and their donor systems to all share information or exchange information, right? So they needed a way to do that in a fast, reliable, cloud-native way, and that's what we brought to them, was speed to help them achieve their goal, which was to modernize.
Okay, and thank you. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. And you were talking about another awesome story about law enforcement here in the US, right?
Right. So one of the use case examples we're working on is with law enforcement to deliver information faster to the police who are actually on the street, doing their jobs, protecting public safety, and making sure they have the most current and up-to-date information. If you think about the way law enforcement has to work, the federal and state government as well as local officials have to correlate all that information together, and the real-time nature of that need is paramount to public safety.
So what is a use case of this solution?
So having a central record for all law enforcement to be able to...
so I'm speeding.
Yeah.
I'm driving very fast on the US roads. And
Yeah.
then suddenly there is a cut.
Not in kilometers.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, it was in miles.
You forgot to convert.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
That will be my excuse. But,
Yeah.
You should use that.
but they tried to stop me, and they actually succeed. What happens with Boomi?
Right. So Boomi is delivering information to that database so that, let's say you're trying to speed, but maybe you're a felon, and maybe you
I'm
have...
not, by the way.
Yeah, you're not, by the way.
I'm just a guy reading
Yeah.
mails, just like you.
Yeah. But you could be, right? You could be a felon. You could be someone who actually maybe violated parole. That status of information could be very important to the safety of the official who's approaching the car versus maybe a mom of 3 who's pregnant and has another one on the way. We're not probably as worried about her when we approach that car. We're maybe worried about that felon or somebody who's violating terms of parole when we walk up to that car.
So it's actually getting all the data at the right place at the right time.
At the right time. And if we don't have it, then that's where you have those public safety gaps and potentially, a risk to the officer.
I think it was a comment of Michael Dell himself that he said there is no customer or no use case that couldn't be a Boomi use case. What I'm very bad at quote. Do you know that quote by heart?
I believe he said he's not met a customer that couldn't benefit from Boomi.
Absolutely.
And then is my question, why is it so tough to find these customers? Actually, in Europe, it is very, very hard to drill down into this customer use case and that to actually comprehend the benefit, the added value of an integration solution.
Yeah, so at least for my instance, when we're out in the field and we're talking about it with a customer, we're thinking about the way the customer is actually building applications today as part of the overall infrastructure strategy. So we focus on IT transformation from the very beginning, whether we're talking about servers and power delivery infrastructure or we're talking about the apps, and we tie all of that together and we say, okay, you're going to spend 10 or 15 FTEs worth of resources to build these applications, and another 5 or 6 to do integrations. But what if you could get that down to half an FTE to do those integrations? That's a huge use case example.
Okay. We call that at Nalta Platform Perfection.
Oh, there you go.
So not only talk about the IoT platforms we build,
Yeah.
or the integration platforms we build, but the infrastructure platform is as important as that. So we call it
Absolutely.
Platform Perfection. It's a colleague of mine who came up with that.
You should
That's
have a
great.
T-shirt.
We'll make a T-shirt for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute.
Is there something you want to add to the comments of Mark?
Yeah, I would just add, as far as finding the customers, even in Europe, focusing on, do they have all the data they wish they could have, right? Either for their customer, for their patients, or for themselves as an employee. And
Yeah.
if the answer is they don't have the data, but they know where it is, there's a use case, right? Is if you know the data is out there and you wish you could have it in this app or in your hand, then let's look at how we integrate that data so it's where you need it and you can take advantage of it.
Very cool.
It boils down to cost, right? So a lot of customers know that they have a significant portion of their data that's on we'll say an island that they can't access in real time. And the reason they can't do that is because they don't have the budget and the manpower to put it together, right? So if we can shrink that cost curve for them, we can enable them to get more data in real time in their central applications at an affordable price, right? That's a huge thing for customers. So it's really understanding what their pieces are that they know that they have on data islands and bringing them in.
Wow. I'm so glad we met here in the sun, right in front of the Mirage Hotel. And I was able to ask you a couple of questions. Do you have a punchline? A great punchline? The end of the interview?
Yeah, business outcomes accelerated.
And that's Ben. Thank you for watching Nalta Explores from Vegas. Please subscribe to our channels, not only on YouTube, but also our podcast channels. And yes, they should look for where the data is and where they want their data to be.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem over there, there's probably a use case for Boomi. Thanks for watching.